Hi, y'all. It's very good to see you all again. And we'll be finishing this chapter in one more session, another than this. And in this particular session, we'll be talking about some really important topics, such as the stakeholders of the forest, the role of ordinary people in the conservation of the forest, which is very vital for you to understand, and the sustainable management and red data book. Now, I know these two topics have already been covered in the previous session, but we'll be doing them in a little more detail, such as the what are the threats to the species, what exactly are the different type of projects which have been started by the government in order to have the conservation of different species, right? And the sustainable management is, let's say, something which we have already studied, but just in a little more words so that it is enough for you to write into the exam. And these two topics are extremely important, especially the rate data book. Okay, now moving ahead, first of all, you should understand what are the stakeholders of the forest. Stakeholders of the forest are the people who have the share in the forest, okay, who have the say as in what goes on in that particular area. For example, the government, the forest department of the government is the biggest stakeholder of the forest because it owns the entire land, it owns the entire forest land, and it kind of controls and keeps the tab of all the natural resources or the all the animals, the number of trees, all the different species which are found, extremely everything. Okay, so we have the first stakeholder, which is the biggest one, is the forest department of the government, and any government can be concerned with that. For example, we have the Indian forest, the Indian government is the stakeholder. In the Amazon, the American government is the stakeholder. On top of that, we have the industrialists. Industrialists are another people or the another stakeholder group which basically own the land. They kind of, they purchase the land from the government in order to either establish the industries there or to exploit or utilize the resources which are found in that particular area. For example, there are multiple paper industries which pay a huge amount of money to the government in order to have a lot of trees cut down from there for the pulp, and so that they can basically produce the paper, right? Next is the activists. Activists, on the other hand, are the one thing which kind of, are on the side of the conservation of the forest. So they also try and buy a lot of land, or they also participate in a lot of movements which turn up either local or global or national, depending upon to the, number of people or the type of movement which is going on, in order to help the forest stay the way they are already or to improve in their quality. And then there are four people who live, basically the tribal people. Okay, the tribal people which are around the forest or which are dependent upon the forest, basically the nomads, for example. So stakeholders are not necessarily the people who own in the forest anything or the land forest, like forest land basically, but stakeholders are the people who affect whatever is going on with the forest or among the different forests or about the forests. Okay, so stakeholders are the people which affect what is going on in regard to every respect in the forest. Okay, could it be the forest department, the industrialists, the different type of activists, and the people who actually are dependent and living in the forest. Okay, so this particular thing is very important for you to be clear about. Okay, next thing is the role of ordinary people in the conservation of the forest. Role of ordinary people in the conservation forest is one of the most generalized thing that could be formulated on your own as well, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to give you a lot of key points right here. For example, the control of forest fire. How can you exactly help in controlling the different forest fire? You can help the forest department. You can contribute to, saving the animals. You can contribute in distinguishing the fire by putting a lot of sand or by putting a lot of water. But then again, you should do whatever you're instructed to do, and you should always be cooperative with the officials which are there to do their work. Next thing is the reforestation and afforestation. First things first, reforestation is restoring of a forest. Restoring of a forest. Of a forest. right? By basically planting a lot of trees or lot of seedlings into the land where the forest was already there. Next thing is the afforestation. Afforestation is completely different. It is planting to make a new forest where the land was completely away from anything related to the forest, or where the land didn't have any forest as before. Then next thing is the check over forest clearance for agriculture and flabiation purposes. For example, the best thing that you can do is, instead of let's say exploiting everything onto the land that you already have, you can clear a little of the land onto the forest and practice your agriculture there. But then again, that should not be recklessly done. You should always plan on trying to keep up with the, maintaining the fertility of the soil and keeping in check whatever fertilizer or chemicals you're using, in order to basically minimize the agricultural the agricultural reason to cut down the forests. Next is the protection of the forest. Protection of the forest is basically, participating in different type of movements, or planting a lot of trees, or helping in protection of the forest, for just like the people who did in the Chipko movement, the Sundarlal Bahuguna, who actually, clung to the tree and kind of avoided the people to cut them down. And then proper utilization of the forest products and the forest. You don't have to necessarily cut down or exploit the forest in order to avail the resources. All you've got to do is, try and utilize the resources in a manner that they are not hurting the forest. Okay, they're not being exploited or quenched out of the forest, and they are being necessarily sustaining for yourself as well. So that is one thing which has been very well done by the tribal people, who have been living in the harmonious manner with the forest for a longer period of time. And most of those are found, across the world. For example, we can find the those people in Meghalaya, we can find those people in Andaman and Nicobar Island, we can find those people in the Amazon forests. Okay. Now, see, we are going to have to watch a video on to the role of conservation of forests, like role of ordinary people on the conservation of forests. That is going to give you a little more clearer idea onto that. Okay. Now, starting with this video, let's just get on with it.
Forests are one of the important renewable natural resource which is mainly composed of trees, shrubs, or any other woody vegetation. Destruction of forests for human needs disturbs the ecological balance. Consequences of depletion of forests. Due to depletion of forests, rainfall in the region decreases and area may finally become a desert.
See, how does the rainfall decrease? Simple as that. The forests and the trees are responsible for the sake of transpiration, and if there is no transpiration, there is no proper circulation of the water cycle. No proper water cycle, no rainfall. No rainfall, desert. Moving forward.
Deforestation may also lead to frequent floods in the area. It destroys the natural habitat of wild animals and birds. It leads to topsoil erosion. It reduces soil fertility. Forests, especially on mountains, protect from floods by trapping and absorbing water and then slowly releasing it. Deforestation causes extinction of various species, resulting in the loss of irreplaceable resources. It also brings about regional and global climate changes, which become warmer because of lack of humidity. It deprives human beings of the benefits of forest trees and animals. It threatens tribal people whose survival mainly depends on forests. Conservation of forests. Silviculture is one of the major programs started to replenish forests. Afforestation should be there in the areas which are unfit for agriculture, along highways and rivers. A special program of tree plantation called Vana Mahotsava is held every year in our country. It should be made more popular. Forests should be protected from fire. Latest firefighting equipment should be used to extinguish accidental forest fire.
Basically what we are talking about here is what are the consequences, what are the different programs which are started by the government, such as the One Mahotsava in the India. One means forest, Mahotsava as in festival. So the forest festival, it basically is helping in spreading the awareness among people, and a lot of trees are planted, thousands and thousands of trees are planted in the schools and hostels and houses, and it's pretty interesting to go on, and it's a very good initiative on the behalf of the government. Okay, so that being said, we'll be moving forward with our session. Now, moving forward to the sustainable development or the management. Again, the management purposes that kind of promises the use of natural resources that they meet the human need in the present. The keyword is present, and in the future, the keyword is the future. Okay, there are multiple advantages of reuse over recycling and recycling and everything. Basically, we have the 3 R's: the reuse, recycle, and we have actually 3 R's are old news. We have 5 R's. Now, let me just tell you something about the 5 R's. See, when we are talking about this, we have the refuse, reduce, recycle, reuse, and repurpose. All of these are for the sake of the proper development and the proper, let's say, saving of our environment, right? This entire chapter has one whole big point: save the environment. How are we can like how are we capable of saving the environment, how or what is going on along with the surroundings, and how exactly is it going to is it is going to affect the future generations, and what could be expected out of it. So that being said, refuse as in you should refuse the use of different plastic, you should reduce the use of the contaminating fertilizers and the herbicides and weedicides in order to save the soil fertility. You should recycle most of the things such as the papers and plastic bottles. You should reuse a lot of things, and you should repurpose. Reuse is basically using the thing for the same purpose, and repurposing is using the thing for different function or different manner or different different purpose, basically different function. For example, if there's a plastic bottle, if I want to reuse it, I'm going to fill water again in it and put it in the freezer or the fridge for that matter. But if I want to repurpose this, I can cut the plastic bottle and use it as a pot, right? Now, that being said, we're going to dive in deep a little more with the help of the video for the sustainable management. Okay, all right, now let's just get on with it.
Hi guys! Do you have time for a few quick questions? I see you're having a lot of fun, but do you ever stop and think if what you do is sustainable? And do you know what sustainable development means? Sustainable development is to make the world a better place for everyone now without destroying the possibilities for the next generations. If you wonder if something is sustainable, you can ask yourself, can we do this over and over again forever? Sustainable development means that we need to keep 3 things in mind at once: social progress, economic development, and climate and environment. First of all, we have to take care of our planet. We have many natural ecosystems that must be in balance in order for us to live here. The climate system is one of them. This system ensures that the temperature is correct and that the atmosphere emits exactly the right amount of solar energy. When we emit harmful greenhouse gases such as CO2, we clog the atmosphere. This changes the temperatures on Earth, which again affects our development. How we produce and use energy is incredibly important. Oil and coal are examples of energy we may run out of. Water, wind, and sun, however, will always be here. Using the lasting sources of energy that renew themselves is good for the planet and can provide jobs for years to come. Economics. Almost everything we develop, buy, and trade starts with nature. The smarter we use our natural resources and the better systems we create for a fair distribution, the more sustainable we are. One way to contribute to a more uneven distribution is to be more aware of what we buy and how it is produced. A football is a good example. It travels far before it reaches the football players. First, the materials are made. Then, they print the logo somewhere else before a third country sews it all together. One single football sees the whole world before it reaches its goal. This journey ties us together. If we are to win the battle for a sustainable future, we have to play with fair rules that applies to everyone. Social progress. We humans are part of nature, but we're also important resources for the world. Just like water, the forest, and the sun, we have minds that can create the strangest and most creative things. But for us to be the best versions of ourselves, there are certain things that must be in order, like having equal opportunities to education, safety, food, and medicine. This provides greater opportunities for us as human beings, but also for the planet. We just have to think in new ways. These three must work together. That is sustainable development. And there is actually a plan for this. All the countries of the United Nations have agreed on a joint plan for sustainable development. But for the plan to work, we need to cooperate, and we need you to be on board. Are you with us?
So, are you with us? You basically have to take care of how exactly social development or sustainable development is built upon three platforms: the economic, social, and the natural development. Okay, where we have to take care of every single aspect in order to have a proper future, in order to have a future at all, right? Now, being said that, we're going to move forward with the session. Now, last but not the least topic of this session right here is the red data book. As I've already told you, very, very important. Although we have undergone all the different different type of terminologies that are related to it. For example, the endemic species, the vulnerable species, the endangered species, the extinct species, the normal natural species, etc., etc. But we'll be going through this one more time, along with the different type of projects that are being carried out. What are the different type of threats which are there for the wildlife? Okay, so for example, we'll be learning about the Project Tiger. Okay, but for now, let's just focus on what exactly is the red data book. So red data book is a state document, and it is responsible for documenting rare and endangered species of the animals, plants, and fungi, as well as the local subspecies. Keep this in mind: the extinct species are not kept by the red data book. Do not get confused and do not lose your marks here. Okay, now without any further ado, let's just get on with the video first. All right, so we'll be starting with the endangered species first. Remember when I told you that endangered species are the one which have very less population, and they could be vulnerable, and then they could be extinct. So here we go.
Endangered species. Species with low population numbers that are in considerable danger of becoming extinct are termed as endangered species. Changing environmental conditions and poaching are the two main reasons that have escalated the percentage of endangered species. Presently, many species of animals are in danger of dying out. These include rhinos, whales, wolves, eagles, and few rainforest birds. Poachers are hunting the wild animals for their skins and bones or the land they live on. Monal, found in Himachal Pradesh, is one of the most beautiful birds which has been hunted to the level close to extinction. There are certain prehistoric animals like dinosaur and dodo bird that disappeared due to natural calamities and climatic changes.
Remember when I gave you the same examples in the previous session? I hope you're noting everything down. Let's get on with it.
The Government of India has undertaken many projects to protect some of the endangered species. Project Tiger. The population of tiger, Panthera tigris, reduced from 40,000 at the turn of the century to about 1,827 in 1972. On 1st April 1973, the Project Tiger was launched with the aim of increasing the tiger count in the country. Many tiger reserves were also opened in some states. Project Elephant. The population of Indian elephant, Elephas maximus, is threatened due to poaching for ivory and habitat destruction. Project Elephant was launched by the Ministry of Environment and Forests in 1992, which focuses on solving the problems of humans and elephants competing for the same habitat. Operation Rhino. Hunting and flood has led to loss in number of Indian rhino, R. unicaris. To protect the Indian species, a rehabilitation program was undertaken in Dudhwa National Park. Lion Sanctuary. In 1972, a 5-year plan was proposed by the government of Gujarat to protect the lions in Gir Sanctuary.
Now, I know these are a lot of facts. This is a lot of information which is being provided to you. But listen to this. All of this is really important. Okay, really important for the proper awareness, and second for the marks, of course. Okay. For the marks, we just have the Project Tiger, and otherwise, most of this has been included in a lot of government exams for the sake of proper knowledge that you should be giving, should be having moving forward.
Crocodile Breeding Project. Crocodile Breeding and Management Project was launched by the Government of India in 1975 for all the 3 endangered crocodile species, namely freshwater crocodile, Crocodylus palustris, saltwater crocodile, Crocodylus porosus, rare gharial, Cabialus gangeticus. The Red Data Book is a record book of endangered species of animals and plants. The International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, maintains the Red Data Book, which contains a record of animals identified as endangered species or animals. In India, animals like Indian one-horned rhino, Nilgiri tahr, lion-tailed macaque, Asiatic lion, Indian tiger, olive ridley turtle, and birds like hornbill, monal, great Indian bustard, and pheasant are on the verge of extinction.
Remember, as many examples, as many marks.
Did you know the different categories in the Red Data Book are as follows: extinct, EX, extinct in the wild, EW, critically endangered, CR, endangered, EN, vulnerable, VU, near threatened, NT, least concern, LC, data deficient, DD, not evaluated, NE. When discussing the IUCN Red List, the official term threatened is a grouping of 3 categories: critically endangered, endangered, and vulnerable. Diversity among the living beings is known as biodiversity. The current biodiversity level is estimated at 10 to 100 million species, of which only 1.4 million have been formally listed. India is one of 12 mega diversity centers of the world. However, biodiversity may be lost due to certain natural calamities like floods, earthquakes, landslides, natural competition between species, lack of pollination, and diseases. Besides natural calamities, biodiversity may be affected due to human activities like destruction of habitat for housing, agriculture, construction of dams, reservoirs, roads, railway tracks, etc. Extinction is an irreversible process, and when a species becomes extinct, it sets off a cascade of extinction. Even the loss of a single species is a great misfortune, since each form of life is a storehouse of irreplaceable genetic resource. Species with low population numbers that are in considerable danger of becoming extinct are termed as endangered species. Presently, many species of animals like rhinos, whales, wolves, eagles, and few rainforest birds are in the danger of dying out. Project Tiger, Project Elephant, Operation Rhino, Lion Sanctuary, Crocodile Breeding Project are some of the projects undertaken by the government to save these animals. The International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, maintains the Red Data Book, which contains a record of animals identified as endangered species or animals. Diversity among living beings is known as biodiversity, which should be conserved.
Right. So that being said, we'll be moving forward with the session. All right, then time for some questions. Advantages of Red Data Book. I think this is the simplest question that could be asked to you. It basically is, it keeps up the data for all the different species that is there so that we could be, evaluating the data. We could be saving the species on the basis of that. We could be launching different programs in order to have the benefits of those to the different endangered species, right? Next question, how can we protect the trees? Oh, come on. Even a sixth class student can answer this question. Conserve paper, trees, buy furniture, find alternatives, save paper, use paper carefully, save envelopes, do not use paper towels and tissues, etc., etc. And that is all for today. And I'll be seeing you with one last session of this chapter. That'll be all for today. You guys take care, have fun, and learn a lot. Bye bye.